everyone, welcome back to version 1. You join me out here today on this brisk Monday morning because we're heading to RStuning once more. This will be the third time the car's been on the dyno with Paul, but this time it's to basically check, because I had the car mapped on the spacer plate which was giving me a boost leak, basically just a health check, see if the car's running sweet, and a bit of a map tweak while we're on there because we're running the turbo inlet adapter from Motorsport. So we're going to see if there was a boost leak and also see if we make a bit more jam. So let's get into it. Before getting to today's video, as per usual, make sure you leave it a like rating if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and ring the bell notification to find your way back for any future content. So, as I briefly said in the intro, we're heading to RStuning today for the map tweak / health check, which has been arranged for a little while now and is exactly why I wanted to get the forged pipe on there before I went up and done this map tweak. So it's kind of two birds with one stone. We're going to see if we were getting a boost leak from the spacer plate, and we're going to see if the turbo inlet adapter makes us a bit more sauce. So for those of you that haven't checked out the previous videos, just a quick summary. I was running the forged spacer plate on the diverter valve, recirc valve, sorry, and it was leaking. So when we pressure tested it, we smoke tested it, it was actually leaking from the holes. Now we did double check that how the car's state was when it wasn't on, because we didn't want to obviously turn it on with everything off, but we had to check that the valve was open or closed when the car was off, because when we smoke tested it, obviously the car was off. So once we checked that and we confirmed that the actual valve was shut but it was still leaking, I thought I better take it off really, because it was kind of a peace of mind. I wanted to take it off. I'm sure there's not a huge difference in having it on or off, but it was kind of one of those things. Once I'd seen that it was leaking, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to get this off now. And I replaced it with the GFB diverter valve, which is on there now. And in my last video, I installed the Forged Motorsport turbo inlet adapter, which boasts gains of 59% larger intake and stuff like that, and more low-end torque, more high-end power. So the only way to test those kind of things is to get it on a dyno, and that's exactly what we're doing today. So that's enough waffle about all those sort of things. You know what's going on right now. We're going in for the health check, we're going for a map tweak, and obviously going to see Paul, get the car on the dyno once more, because you guys seem to love the dyno content and the MEG content. So here you go. So we're here now outside RStuning, just letting Paul and everyone else set up the car on the dyno now. Not expecting anything really from today's session. Obviously we've got the fact that obviously running the turbo inlet adapter and hopefully sorting out the boost leak issue. And also when I replaced the turbo inlet adapter, I forgot to say, I'll put up on the screen now, there was like a pinch on the plastic side of the turbo. I'm not saying this was going to cause massive issue, but it was also loose as well. So all of these things could cater into one other problem. So the only way to tell is really get it on the dyno, see what it makes, and obviously it's a nice cooler day as well today, so hopefully should make some strong powers. I'm not really looking to gain more power, but specifically I'd like to just make the same really. If I can come here and make exactly the same, 340-ish, I'll be sweet. So let's get the car on the dyno and start doing some runs. So the first two runs was 314.4 horsepower and 316.9. Straight away Paul thought there was some sort of issue, because obviously that's making way under what it did last time, but the torque looked good, and the only reason it's showing us that on the graph what you can see on the screen right now is because it actually hasn't been translated to flywheel torque yet. So first couple of runs made 316 and 344 foot-pounds. Now Paul's saying that he reckons due to the tyre we're losing a little bit of power. Torque is almost identical, but he's saying that the tyre's having some sort of effect on the power that was made before, because it's not on the screen at the moment, but the power curve before was just a little bit higher. So He's going to check the boost and everything, check everything's running okay, and then we might be able to turn it up. So let's see. So the next run, Paul picked up the torque again, but still losing power, even though we picked up quite a lot mid-range. So Paul reckons at this point, he's added some more boost to it, but at this point it's definitely the tyres that aren't reading up top on the power. As he said, as the dyno run goes through, he said they slip normally just a tiny bit, so these tyres aren't really good for a dyno. No bother, we're only here really for a health check, just to make everything sweet after the changes that have been made. Paul's going to add some more boost to it, see if it makes anything else, but he seems to think that the car it's basically just capped out there. Renault don't really leave much on the table for these cars, so we're going to give it another couple more runs, see what it makes, but I'm not disappointed. It's made more torque than it had, so that should feel nice. And then obviously I think the power is going to be about the same, around the 335, 340 mark, but we can't read it properly because it is slipping on the dyno ever so slightly, which is making it not be able to read the top end figure. You won't be able to see from this angle, I'm sure, but the tyres are super tacky. You can hear it. Really tacky from being on there, just trying to find grip. Obviously they can't get great heat in them, but Paul did say as soon as he saw them, he said oh no, saying that he'd struggle for grip. But yeah, so note to self, semis ain't good for a dyno. In these final attempts, Paul decided to try running 5th gear, as we were getting no traction at the top end of 4th and we're getting that just slight little bit of slip that wasn't letting us get a true reading. He decided to run it in 5th gear and then combine the two figures we get between 4th and 5th gear. So to actually get grip, we had to run the car in 5th gear instead of 4th. So we can't really compare the two graphs next to each other because the car did make more power and more torque, but because it's in 5th gear, it doesn't equate to the same. So this is the graph we're left with today. Super clean, well happy with it, running about the same power, and we made a bit more torque. So that's more like 355 in 4th gear. He said drops a bit of torque in 5th, but he said definitely the tyres are slipping slightly on the dyno. But being in 5th is the only way we could get an actual accurate sort of top end power reading. So 340-ish again, and made it like 355 foot-pounds. So I'm going to take the car for a drive once it's off the dyno, and hopefully there'll be something to report back. I'm assuming it's going to feel a bit more assertive, having a decent extra amount of torque, but let's see. Oh shit, we're on. So what a complicated session that was. After having the ability to get the car to find some grip, we did find the grip, but we had to run the car in 5th gear, which meant that we couldn't get the full torque figure that it was making previously on the previous run, where it made 355 foot-pounds, which I'm happy with because the torque will be much more noticeable than a couple of horsepower here and there. The car made 337, I think it was, Paul said. It started to get a little bit hot, so I might have had a little bit of heat soak, so you always round up anyway, don't you? 340 is the mark, and I'm happy with that, exactly where it was really, and a little bit more extra torque. The drivability will be something I have to assess as we drive, but the fact that I'm going to have all the lights off and everything will be set to be on these mods and stuff now, I'm happy about. And obviously the boost leak situation has been addressed and sorted officially. So as far as the forge inlet pipe, I can't definitely say that it caused it to make more power, because I don't know for a fact, because we couldn't run a 4th gear alongside a 4th gear, which is a bit annoying. But it's one of those things, I think, with any of those sort of mods where replacing plastic parts is just a good idea anyway. So having the metal parts on there and stuff, smoother airflow and stuff, might make the car a little bit more. Paul did say it made a bit more in the middle, so that could be something due to the pipe and stuff, but negligible differences I think overall. Just a case of getting the car on the dyno, and unfortunately, note to self, don't dyno your car on semi-slicks. Oh, we got a tunnel. You have to do tunnel runs. It's just the way it is. You have to do it. That made a flipping racket. Oh, another tunnel. That is a joke, mate. We love it. Oh no, I've gone the wrong way. So drivability of the car feels nicer, feels smoother. I don't know if that was due to the car, the mat not being quite right with the stuff, like I said, with the boost leak and stuff on part, but it seems to be really nice and smooth. The throttle inputs and stuff sometimes were a bit jerky. Now all that stuff was addressed. The car feels great. It pulls very, very smoothly. Fourth gear pulls, boosts up nicely. Feels good. Oh, speed bumps. The delivery is much smoother. Like I say, you can just feel that everything is as it should be now. How much boost was leaking from that spacer, I don't know, but having everything together as it is now, it just feels great. It's just so nice, super nice and smooth. All the lights are off on the dash as well, which is a win. So yeah, buzzing. Third gear pull, here we go. 3,000 RPM. Whoa. Feels good, feels real good. Definitely mid-range. So sometimes when you used to shift from third and the higher RPM into fourth, you get kind of like a dip in torque, only because it was maybe the power band wasn't as strong as it could have been. But there, I don't know if you could hear it on the audio, it didn't drop at all. Fourth gear was straight on it. The pickup's great. Power wise, not really any noticeable difference, I'd say. Feels pretty much as fast as it did previously, but the torque on the low down, like when you come in it from a little bit lower in the rev range, once it actually gets on boost, you can really feel the pickup there. Don't know if you can hear it as well. Turbo makes a great noise as well, I love it. So as per usual, massive shout out to Paul and RStuning again for their time and their help getting the car dialed, because it feels so good now. Really happy with it, just knowing as well, peace of mind that everything is sorted from the boost leak issue and stuff. So massive shout out to those guys, appreciate the help, appreciate the time, and they always go the extra mile to make sure that you come out happy with the numbers and stuff and everything as it should be. If you enjoy this content, make sure you leave it a like rating, it really helps us out. Hit that subscribe button if you're new, and ring the bell notification to find your way back for any future content. As the nights draw in and the weather gets more miserable, car content is going to be harder and harder to do, so there might be a couple of more indoor videos, let's say, coming in the near future. But for now, I'll catch you in the next one.